All right, so hi everyone, welcome to our motivational session. I'd like to introduce you to our speaker, Emily Mannix, who's the Vice Captain of the Melbourne Vixens. Em is a St Leonard's local and made her Vixens debut in 2015, despite having limited opportunities. Emily has many achievements to her name, and she's going to have a chat to you guys this afternoon about her career and pathways and study. And then at the end of the presentation, there'll be an opportunity for you guys to ask questions if you like. So over to you, Em.
Hello everyone, I'll make sure I'm on not on mute because I think everyone has done that a million times. We have a bit of a joke at the Vixens because obviously during COVID we trained from home for a lot of the start of last year, and every time someone would start talking they'd be on mute and you have to all you're yelling like, you're on mute. So I've started off well, which is good. So thanks Mel for the introduction. My name's Emily. And I am part of the Melbourne Vixens team. I started in 2015, so St Leonard's local. I don't know if anyone knows where St Leonard's is. Give me a thumbs up for those on camera if you actually know where St Leonard's is. 1, 2, 3. Yeah, so down on the Ballerine Peninsula. Grew up down here, so sort of a Drysdale local. So I started playing netball for Drysdale Footy Netball Club in the BFNL. So played heaps of junior down there, loved sort of how it was part of that footy netball culture and how you'd sort of play netball, have hot chips and gravy and then play again in the afternoon. I still like chips and gravy, but I try and steer away from those before a game. Feel like probably wouldn't get much out of myself if I was having that. But yeah, loved my netball, played heaps of different sports growing up. So really loved my surf lifesaving, did a lot of swimming, did one dance lesson, wasn't very good at that. And was really into my athletics and my cross country as well. So I feel like now that's really helped me be able to, I guess, be a bit more agile and dynamic as a goalkeeper. I think goalkeepers don't get the best rap for being agile and quick. And not saying that I am super agile and quick, but I think that athletics and cross-country background really helped me there. You're going to have to bear with me. I do have a bad cold. I have been COVID tested today, so luckily we're on Zoom and you're not all going to get infected from me. I guess that's the luxury of having Zoom these days. So yeah, my voice is a little bit funny. I do have a cold. But yeah, so I really loved my netball growing up. Sort of played it, every weekend. And I was lucky enough actually in year 9, I went to St Ignatius College and was lucky enough to get a scholarship to Geelong Grammar for year 10. So I ended up going out there and that was an experience for me. This little kid from St Leonard's going, to one of the more wealthy schools in Australia was a bit of a interesting one. I'd drive, obviously I was on my L's and we had a Toyota Tarago. Growing up, I'm one of 4 kids. So I'd roll in to Geelong Grammar on the L plates in the Tarago, and I remember seeing this other kid on his L's rolling in a Ferrari, and I was like, yep, that's pretty much where I sit here, but wouldn't have changed it for anything. I had such a great experience out there. I think the connections, I always say, it's not what you know, it's who you know, and I think that really did help me because that in turn actually helped me probably get a contract with the Vixens, because my head coach at Grammar was the the assistant coach at Vixens. So I think that definitely helped me. So yeah, did a lot of driving up and forth to Melbourne. So mum and dad really helped with that. They really helped me driving, and obviously from St Leonard's it's a big drive to Melbourne, and most of the netball is up in Melbourne. So yeah, did a lot of driving up the highway and was lucky enough to get a scholarship to the Victorian Institute of Sport. And that's sort of how I got picked as well in the Vixens. I was also playing in the Victorian Netball League and the Australian Netball League at the time. And the head coach of the Vixens would come to those matches and watch. And she pulled me into her office at the VIS one day and basically just said, hey, would you like a contract for the Vixens next year? And I was like, yep. And that's where that's where we went. We went from there and signed for 2 years on a rookie salary of 13,500 a year. And back then, and I say back then, it's only 6-7 years ago. Back then we were only contracted for 6 months of the year, so you'd get 13,500 for that 6 months, and the rest of the year you're sort of on your own. And a lot has changed since then. I'm very grateful for how far netball's come, but comparing us to other sports, we're probably really not there yet, but that's for later in the chat. But yeah, very lucky to get a contract with the Vixens, and also lucky enough in 2017 to debut for Australia, the Australian Diamonds over in Invercargill. So I'm Australian Diamond number 173, which is such an honour and a privilege to pull on, the Australian dress and representing country. We were 18 goals down at half time, and the coach put me on, and we only lost by 15. So I'm not saying that I did contribute a lot, but I did claw it back by 3 goals, and I will keep that. But yeah, really enjoyed that. Sort of been in and out of that squad, or that team, I guess. I've been in the squad since 2017, but they sort of pick a team every tour, and sort of been in and out of that. But yeah, that's sort of a little bit about me. I actually studied at Deakin my first year out of school. I studied OT, and I think for me, I just realised that because playing netball's obviously, you're with a lot of physios, you're around massage therapists, so you're around, that sort of sport scene all the time. I think it just wasn't for me. So I decided to take the year off, and I worked. And then I got this a contract to Vixens, and sort of has pushed that aside for now. But I think for me, post netball, I'd love to join the police force, or get into the fireys. So that's sort of what I would love to do post netball. But we train 5 days a week at the moment. Obviously I'm not training today because I'm sick and I have to stay away, but we train Monday to Friday, and then also traveling on weekends to play games in season. So can't do much about that at the moment, but yeah, that's something that I really aspire to post netball, which who knows how long that's going to be, really. Not going to stay in this shape for forever, so got to make the most of it, and sort of just really focusing on netball at the moment. And obviously traveling a lot really, I guess, takes a lot of my time. So I'm still down in St Leonard, so it's it takes me an hour and 45 minutes to get to training and get back. So a big chunk of my day out from traveling. So that's a little bit about me. I'm puffing, I'm sorry, can't really breathe at the moment, so bear with me. But yeah, does anyone have any questions about any of that? General, you can put it in chat, or feel free to speak up. It's up to you.
I might jump in. So sorry. So you've mentioned, there's quite a lot of difficulties you've sort of had to overcome through your career. What are some of the key challenges that you faced in your professional career?
I think for me, injury is always a big one, and that's probably where I sit at the moment. I'm just coming off a hip surgery. I had surgery in November. I actually did it in pre-season. The very first court session we had at the start of the last year, I thought I pulled my groin, but in turn it actually was my hip. So I sort of struggled, as if 2020 wasn't enough already. Sort of struggled with a hip injury up in Queensland. We're up in a hub. Our season was moved up there. So sort of struggled with a hip injury most of the year. So I had surgery when I got back in November. So I'm still in rehab with that. And that's been something that's been hard. And I think for me now, in terms of overcoming that and having the surgery, is now the pressure to be better than I was last year, because it is fixed. So I think that's something that's been playing on my mind a little bit, is the pressure of, or the expectation that I should be better than last year, because I was managing an injury last year. So something, that, has been on my mind a little bit. But like I said, in the hub, it was hard up there, in terms of being away from family and friends and that sort of thing. But I think the injury was just something to top that off. And if that wasn't enough, last week I went to one of my teammates' houses. We have 3 sessions on a Monday, which I get to miss out on today, obviously being sick. So not complaining too much about that, but it's in between sessions. And I went to one of my friends or my teammates' house, and kicked a coffee table and broke my 4th toe. So now, I was coming back. I was probably pretty close to getting back on court with the girls. They've been on court for about a month now, and I've just been in the rehab group away. So yeah, I was probably pretty close to getting back on court with the girls, and then bam, kicked my bloody toe, broke it, and I thought, it's fine, it's just a chip off the top, but it's actually where the tendon attaches where it keeps it straight. So I have to make sure my toe's straight for like 2 weeks so it heals properly, and I don't have a bung toe for the rest of my life. So that's something else. Then I obviously got sick today. So I feel like things come in 3. So I reckon I'm pretty right after this one. But yeah, I think, injuries is probably the main thing. And another thing for me is obviously the disappointment of missing out on, teams and that sort of thing. And probably the most recent one for me is the World Cup. Missing out on that was pretty devastating for me. And I really copped that pretty hard. I'd sort of been in the teams previous to that on different tours of New Zealand, and I've been lucky enough to go to, England. I've been to South Africa and New Zealand a few times. So missing out on that World Cup team, and then previously the Com Games team was pretty hard, and I took that pretty hard. I was fortunate enough that year to have a really good Vixens season after missing out on that World Cup team, and was lucky to get the MVP for Vixens in that year. So I think that was something I was proving to myself, that, I wasn't picked, and I was extremely disappointed, but I could still play really good netball and perform even after, some really hard times. So yeah, I think that's another thing for me is, and for everyone really, is you make a team, you don't make a team, you never set in stone, and it's really competitive, the Diamonds especially, of getting in the team. Like I said, I've been lucky to be in the squad since 2017, but yeah, I think just being consistently good and being able to stay in is really difficult. So that's probably my next goal, is World Cup and Com Games coming up in the next couple of years. Those are the sort of things that I'm looking to make and prove myself and others around me that I'm good enough to get there. So that's probably a little bit about that.
Awesome.
Kat here. Oh, sorry, Daniel, if you want to go.
No, go for it. Go for it.
I guess one of the questions is, how did you deal with your mental health, especially being far away, especially last year? Because I know as a final year uni student, I really struggled because my background is early childhood. So being connected, being around people, Zoom is great, but you're not physically around people. So how did you deal with the being far away from your family and your loved ones and dealing with your mental health when everything was so up in the air?
Yeah, definitely. And I think last year for everyone had a different experience, although obviously it was really hard. I think everyone has a different experience with last year. And for me, overall, I really tried to look at it as a positive, and it's not always going to be positive. I mean, I had my ups and downs. I remember we trained, so the first lockdown, which was in March, we were sort of getting ready. We were a month away from, starting the season, and it all just got shut down within 2 days, and we were training. I remember we all made a mad dash to the VIS to get equipment to be able to train from home. And being out in St. Leonard's obviously is pretty far away from everyone anyway. But I think the training by yourself, I was also managing a hip injury, so I couldn't get that regular treatment. And running out on the oval by yourself in the, it's pissing down rain is not the funnest thing to do. And that's also not knowing whether there will be a season anyway. So a lot of the time we were all thinking, well, why are we even doing this? There might not even be a season. And I actually really struggled in that time of having motivation and, wanting to do it. But I think, and it was the only really way we could do it, is connect via, these sort of platforms. And we made it a regular thing. We'd do trivia and fun things just to take our mind off actually playing netball and that side of it. So I think we've really made an effort to stay engaged with each other as a team. But I'm also fortunate enough to live at home. I'm one of 4 kids, and three of us are still here, and we've got partners. So there's usually around 7 or 8 of us here. So I was quite lucky to have, I mean, not always lucky because we were home together, so we did get on each other's nerves, but to actually have people around to check in on each other really helped. But we have a lot of focus at the Vixens. We actually have a wellbeing coordinator as well as a sports psych. So making regular check-ins with them was really important, and everyone took responsibility in that time to do that. But the hub, going into the hub was crazy. I mean, a week before we were leaving, we thought we were going to Sydney for 6 weeks. And then 2 days out, it was, you know, you might be away for 9 weeks and now you're going to Queensland. So I put some more, you know, extra bathers in there. But going up there, I just tried to look at it as a positive. I mean, yes, it was shit. But my family loved coming to the games and my grandparents loved coming to the matches in Melbourne. So not having them there was quite sad, because I know how much it means to them to be able to come and watch and enjoy, you know, obviously getting older. They don't have heaps to do, but to be able to come up to the netball and see people and watch. So that was actually probably the hardest thing, was thinking of everyone back here and what they were going through, because it was so bloody hard. And I think for us, I think that gave us an extra edge up there and winning, because we knew how hard everyone in Vic had done it, and all the other teams, their states hadn't really gone through that and they had no idea what was going on. So I think that just gave us this extra oomph to be able to keep going. And, you know, on our dress for the grand final, we had "Do It for Vic," and just little things like that really gave us inspiration to keep going and push on and do it for people down here, because we knew how hard everyone was doing it. And we'd had it, obviously experienced a little bit of that in March, but yeah, I think all of that just really helped us and gave us that positive energy and to, yeah, go all the way and win, I think.
I'll jump in there. It's really interesting that you found motivation from that. Were there any other kind of factors, do you think, that helped the team winning this year, in terms of the teamwork better than previously years, or were there other factors that you think were different to previous years when you maybe weren't quite as successful?
Yeah, I reckon it had something to do with actually being in a hub together and having no distractions. I mean, even if you wanted to, you couldn't get out of each other's pockets. I mean, I shared with Jo Wesson for 14 weeks and we're good friends, but I mean, that really tested our friendship. But I think it really made us stronger. And she lives by herself actually in Melbourne, and I'm used to it because I live, you know, with a lot of people, a lot of family. So I probably pissed her off a little bit more than she got on my nerves. But I think it did come down to that, no distractions. You know, obviously it was really sad to not have our family there, but in terms of all the media and that sort of thing that we would usually do in a normal season wasn't really there. So we didn't really have anything but focusing on our game and each other, and we spent a lot of time with each other, but we got along really well, and there was no little, you know, a bunch of however many women were up there. There was one guy who was our S&C coach, our strength and conditioning coach. So poor John had to put up with, I think it was 20 women for 14 weeks. So good on him. I mean, he lasted. But yeah, I think it did come down to that, just really working on each other and developing those off-court connections, with which not always happens, because we are so spread out in Melbourne. I mean, there's a few of us from Geelong. Melbourne's quite big, so you know, we don't really spend heaps and heaps of time with each other outside of netball. So I think that really helped us in the end.
Awesome.
Yeah, cool.
We've had a question come through from Holly, and she's just asked, what do you think about the importance of training regularly, and do you have any tips for keeping your body strong?
Yeah, I think, like I said, we train 5 days a week. So at the moment, Monday, Wednesday, Friday, we do strength and conditioning in the morning at 7 a.m. So I leave home at 5:10 to get there and make that. So again, that's why I'm saying I'm sort of glad I missed out on today. It's a very early wake up. So yeah, Monday, Wednesday, Friday mornings we do double sessions. Monday afternoon we do court work for about 2 hours, and then Tuesday, Thursday afternoon we do court work for about 2.5 hours as well. So that's sort of our training week at the moment. And then obviously in season we play on the weekend, so we might be traveling and playing as well. So I think for me, on the flip side of that, I think for me, it's really important in that off season to take a break, because we do train very hard. I do enjoy the downtime of resting your body, because it is really important to rest as well. So I really take that time in the off season to rest and do the little things, you know, having a hit of tennis or going for a swim or something different, because we do a lot of running, we do a lot of passing and catching, and a lot of strength work. So I do enjoy that downtime. But I think for me, feeling like I've done something in the day, and whether that's off season or pre-season or in season, I just feel better about myself. And whether it's something small, even going for a walk and getting fresh air, I know in lockdown, things like that really helped and refresh yourself and refresh your mind. So little things where you're just keeping active. It doesn't have to be a huge 1-2 hour workout where you go and gun for leather and smashing yourself, but doing something small, I find like refreshes my mind and makes me feel good about myself. So yeah, but we do train quite hard, and our sessions are pretty ridiculous sometimes. Our S&C coach really likes to punish us. He has red sessions at the moment, so if you rock after training and it's a red session, you may as well just leave, because you're going to die. But it's all in the challenging, and you got to step up every year, because you know every team's training hard, so you got to have that extra edge. And it's so competitive. Every team's very even, so yeah, they try and get the most out of us that they can.
Thank you. We've also had another question come through from Carissa, and she was just wondering what or who motivates you to do what you do, and how to get out on the court as well.
I think there's a lot of people that have inspired me over the years. You know, from a little girl playing netball down on the Ballarat Peninsula and looking up to people, you know, like Sherelle McMahon, who's now the assistant coach of Vixens, and I get along quite well with Sherelle. People like that have done a lot before my time, that have made netball what it is today. I mean, if you talk to someone like Sherelle, I'm not sure if many of you know Sherelle McMahon, she's probably one of the biggest netball people in the world, really, a goal attack. And she, I remember having a good chat to her, and she was on $1,000 and a free pair of runners when she started playing netball, which is pretty crazy, as, you know, one of the world's, you know, she was an iconic player. And, you know, to now, you know, be on a salary where, you know, it can be your primary job, is pretty amazing in that short time, I guess. So people like that have done a lot for the sport and made it, you know, what it is today, I'm very grateful for. But then it's also obviously my family, the people around me that, you know, have believed in me, and mum and dad who drive me up the highway, you know, 3-4 times a week. You know, mum was working 2 jobs and dad was working as well, and the sacrifice that they took to be able to, you know, they obviously saw something in me as well. I probably didn't see anything in me, and I just really enjoyed doing it. But the fact that they saw something and they keep driving me, and yeah, so people like that, that have really inspired me and helped me get to where I am, because I was definitely not going to be catching the V line up to Melbourne for netball. So if it wasn't for them, yeah, I wouldn't be here.
Awesome, thank you.
Okay.
Do we have any other questions?
Yeah, look, sorry, Emily, I had to pop out for a little bit. I had a screaming baby to check on her.
Oh,
so
gosh,
I'm sorry if someone
yeah.
already asked this, but yeah, just as a professional athlete, what would you consider, I guess, your greatest sacrifice in order to do what you do? But then on the flip side, what would be the greatest reward too?
Yeah, it's a good one. I think the sacrifice is the things you miss out on. I've missed out on plenty of big family birthdays and events. You know, I've been over in South Africa when my brother's 21st, and getting, you know, videos and stuff from them while they're all partying and having a great time, and I'm sitting in a hotel room, makes you sort of think sometimes. But, you know, the reward is having moments like last year, winning a premiership, being in a hub for 4 months, sacrificing that time with your family, because I am a very family orientated person, but then getting things like that as the reward, and getting videos of your family celebrating and getting around you and coming home, and them just being so proud. And it's just this look, like I got home obviously I hadn't seen my family for 4 months, walked in, mum picked me up from the airport and walked in and I gave dad a hug, and dad's a pretty tough guy. I mean, he's a hard one to crack, and you know, he was crying and gave me a hug, and was pretty stoked with the win still. I think it's moments like that that make you realize all those hard sessions, the early mornings, the driving, all of that is worth it, because celebrating as a team after such a massive victory like that feels like, I can't even describe how it feels. It just is such an amazing feeling. And we were so overwhelmed winning that. I mean, I'm not sure if any of you watched it, but we won by 2 goals against Fever, who have this huge goal shooter. I mean, she's probably a good 10, 15 centimetres taller than me. And I know you can't see me because I'm sitting down, but I'm about 6'2". So she's huge, and we were able to beat a team with a goaler like that, which is pretty hard. So yeah, it's moments like that that you just can't describe, but the people around you just make it so special, and that's the reward in the end. And that's what you've got to keep reminding yourself of in those harder times when you're missing out on things, or you can't go to, you know, special things as well. So I think that's what it's all about.
Awesome. Do we have any other questions before Em wraps up for the day? Oh, we've got one. How would you like to see the game develop in the future, and what do you think should be the main focus going forward, both at grassroots and professional levels?
Oh, I feel like there's like multiple questions in that one. I think for me going forward, I think we're considered a semi-professional sport at the moment, and I think that's just due to the pay. I'm not sure if anyone saw, but the league just signed a deal with KO Sports and Fox Sports for next year. And initially I was actually pretty annoyed because I know the amount of people that want to see it on free to air. It's been on Channel 9. People want to see it on free to air. And I was like, oh, that's really crap. Like, how am I grandparents going to be able to work KO Sports? I don't even know how to work KO Sports. Like, that generation of people are really going to struggle. And yeah, like I said, at the start, I was pretty bummed that had happened. And I was like, oh, it's a bit disappointing, really. But sort of looking into it a little bit further, and, you know, I'm not sure of the monetary amount, but it's quite a good deal with Fox Sports. And in terms of moving the sport forward, it's probably something that needed to happen in terms of, you know, Channel 9 had the rights for 5 years, and there'd been small growth in the sport, but probably not what people would have expected to see. So I think it's something it's really good for the sport, and I know disappointing for people, but I did see that there will be you know, two of the games free on, I think it's called KO Freebies or something, that they'll be showing to people, so you can still watch, I guess, free netball anyway. So I think that's something that's really good for us moving forward, and it's just about getting the sport out there. And last year a Witness Fearless initiative came out because there was a statement. I don't know if you have the statement there, Mel. I don't know it off the top of my head. A statement came out in the paper.
I think I have. Sorry, was this the one in The Age?
Yeah, in The Age.
Yep, so that title was Once Just for Schoolgirls and Workplace Bonding, Netball is now a full glamour sport for many. Puma and the Vixens came out with a rebuttal launched at a new campaign, Witness Fearless.
So that came out in The Age, and everyone was pretty pissed off about it, to be honest, because people do think of it as just this sassy sport that girls and women play, but not a lot of people that are saying these things actually watch a game of netball to see what it's about. So the Witness Fearless initiative came out with Puma and a few staff from Vixens, and it's really about, you know, putting it to the people that haven't seen it to actually watch it and see what it's all about, to see the showcase of grit and fear and fearlessness that's out there, because it is a really tough sport when you actually watch it and tune in. And I think it's a really good initiative to really put it out to people that have no idea what they're talking about, let's be honest, and say, just watch it and see what it's about, because it's a great sport, and I believe it can keep growing and doing really big things. And you know, it's in the Com Games, but it's not, you know, in the Olympics because not enough countries play it, which is fair enough. But, you know, it's the #1 sport for female in Australia. So it's huge here, and we need to keep pushing it. And it's our responsibility as players, our generation of players, to do that and keep getting the word out there, because, I mean, I love it and lots of people love it, but it's just about, getting it out there more and pushing it more. But there still is a lot of work to do in terms of that. So, I mean, we'll keep doing what we can, because we want to, like the Sherelle McMartins did for us, we want to do that to the future generation of, of netball players. So it's our responsibility, really.
Definitely. I've got someone with 2 questions. So how do you measure success, and how would you prepare mentally before a game?
Measure success. Now, that's a hard one, because I do not like losing. So, I mean, going off that as a team, I mean, that's the easiest way to measure your success. I think personally for me, if I'm enjoying it, and I'm getting the most out of myself, and within yourself if you're doing the right things. Whenever you question something, you know that you shouldn't do it. And I think for me, that's how I measure it is, if I'm enjoying myself and I'm performing out there on court and I'm having fun doing it, I think that's success, really. You've got to enjoy what you do. Otherwise, what's the point of doing it? You may as well go out and find something else that you enjoy. And I know a lot of people along the way that were really good, not just at netball, but other sports around me. You could just tell they didn't enjoy what they did. And they ended up getting injured or doing things on the weekend that they probably shouldn't do before a match and things like that. So you really have to be invested into it. And I think that's what I prime myself on, I guess. And I forget the second part of that question. Prep mentally before a game. I'm a pretty relaxed person. So before a game, last year was very different for me, because usually I'd travel, an hour and 45 minutes to a home game. So I'd have a lot of time in the car to listen to music. I love a range of music, which my team do not approve on. I'm actually the team DJ. I get a lot of hate for my music, but I don't know what my music taste would be. It's everything. I love everything. But yeah, they sort of disapprove of that. So yeah, I really enjoyed listening to music on the way up. But obviously last year in the hub, we were only 10 minutes from the court, and you're traveling in. We had 3 key carnivals that we'd all traveled together, squish in to a game. So it's a little bit different, but I actually enjoyed the short trip. Was so much better. I don't know why I've traveled all these years. People say I'm an idiot, and I definitely am an idiot, but it's okay. I love it down here. So you got to do what you got to do. But yeah, I think for me, just listening to music, I'm not one that likes to sit, be quiet and still and relax. I probably like to get a little bit up and about before a game, but everyone's different. And obviously in a team sport, you have to respect that, and that everyone likes to prepare differently. So you'll see in our change room, you'll see the ones that are all dancing around being stupid, and you'll see the others that are sort of sitting down being a little bit more peaceful and relaxing. So you got to just respect that and get to know what everyone likes and doesn't like. Don't dance on people that don't want to be danced on, pretty much.
I've got another question, Emily. How do you deal with abusive comments and inappropriate comments that are made by people who don't actually watch netball, or don't respect netball, or just make really inappropriate comments? And this is not just men, this is women as well, because women have done the same. How do you deal with that, even from journalists and from people watching the sport? How do you mentally deal with that?
Yeah, this has been an interesting one over the years, and it's, for me, luckily enough, I haven't really copped much of the online abuse, but people around me have, and I've seen that happen. And I remember seeing in a Diamonds meeting a few years ago, after, I think it was Seabass had copped a bit of hate online, and she'd actually responded to the comment online. Nothing nasty, just putting it out there, basically saying, why are you saying this about me, pretty much. She didn't write anything bad, and we had a meeting about it, because I guess not all the staff, but they wanted to see what our approach was going to be on an issue like this, and how we should respond, and being respectful. And there was so many mixed views in the meeting of people, oh, you should just leave it, you know, don't reply, you're just only adding to it, or there was people with strong views that you should reply. So it's really mixed, and we've always, I think netballers have always had this, I don't know how to put it, but I guess we always hold ourselves to a high regard, and we don't really, you know, if someone said something to us, we sort of bite our tongue a little bit in the past, I think. And I think that's probably changing a little bit, and we're standing up for ourselves a little bit more. And you just have to laugh sometimes, because some of the comments actually don't even make sense. Like, I remember one day, like, someone said, oh, Emily Mannix, you can't get any goals in. It's like, I played defense. Obviously, I'm not going to get any goals in. Like, do you even watch the game? So sometimes you just have to laugh at it, because, I mean, if people are sad enough to be writing those sort of things about you, they need to have a look at themselves. And I think that's the sad thing sometimes, is that people are writing those things because they have things going on in their own lives. And, you know, you shouldn't be writing those things about anyone anyway. But I think for me, I sort of brush over it, because people are always going to have opinions. I mean, it's just how it is. And I think things are changing with people standing up for themselves. And I think people have every right. I mean, if someone was saying something about me, which I haven't really had before, I don't know how I'd react. I think I would leave it, but I know other people feel like they do want to respond. And I think they have every right to do that. And it sort of puts the person that's writing those things, I feel like they take a step back a bit, because they don't expect us to reply. So, I mean, I think we just got to keep challenging those things. And it's probably not even about just standing up for ourselves. It's about the other people that get, you know, bullied online, that can't stick up for themselves. So, you know, we see ourselves as role models, but I think things like that can really help the general public feel like they can stand up for themselves as well. I mean, it's a never-changing issue, isn't it? This whole online thing. Don't think we'll ever master it, but I think you just got to be kind to each other. That's my thing anyway. Just be kind, and don't say things that are going to hurt someone. Really, it's that simple.
Exactly right. We'll just finish up with one more question. So this one's from Olivia Cossey. So I know you said you miss a lot of milestones due to network and travel. What steps do you take to make sure you maintain a work-life balance with such a busy schedule?
Yeah, I think this is a tricky one, because for us, we get our leave in a chunk at the end of the year. So obviously in a regular job, you can sort of take your leave when you want throughout the year. But I mean, I can't take a week off in the middle of the year when we're about to play the top team or something. I can't just go off and say to the coach, sorry, I'm going to go to Queensland for a week. So we do have all that leave bundled up at the end of the year. So I think for me, it's really making sure I take advantage of that time. My partner and I usually go on a good holiday over Christmas. We're lucky enough to go back up to Queensland over the Christmas period. And get some time away. So I think it's really making the most of that time. And I mean, I do miss milestones, but I'm also am here for some as well. Like, I don't miss out on everything. So I think it's just making the most of those times with family and that sort of thing as well. But it's always a juggling act. And I mean, it's just the way it is. I'll always miss out on some things, but yeah, just taking that time that you do have and making the most of that. Sometimes that time is just doing nothing. Like, I just enjoy doing nothing sometimes, which is okay as well.
I think it's important to get some of that downtime and just be one with yourself.
That's right.
So look, thank you everyone. Some great questions that were asked to Em today. So thank you. And I just want to thank you, Em, on behalf of Doosa and myself. Huge thank you. We really appreciate you sharing your story with us and your strategies to overcome the challenges that you've been presented with along your career path, particularly by being sick as well. So we really appreciate you being here today and having a chat with everyone. So thank you.
No, you're welcome. And sorry for my, I'm glad I thought I'd be blowing my nose every 2 seconds, but I haven't had to. So thanks everyone for having me and for your questions. Hopefully you can all either come to a Vixens game this year if we are able to play in Melbourne, which will be lovely, or watch it on TV. It will be on Channel 9 this year still. So tune in and see what it's all about if you haven't watched a netball game before. I will not be the tallest person on the court. I'll promise you that. There is some huge huge women out there. But yeah, thanks guys, and good luck with all your studies and yeah, your future endeavours.
Awesome.